The deep silence of space wrapped around the human survey ship Pioneer like a blanket. Captain James Miller stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the vast emptiness ahead. 20 years of space exploration had taught him to trust his gut. And right now, his gut was screaming that something was wrong. "Captain, I'm picking up some strange readings," said Tom from his sensor station. His fingers moved quickly across the glowing screen. Multiple objects coming out of what appears to be. "Well, sir, I've never seen anything like it." The crew watched in amazement as space itself seemed to tear open. Through the massive tear, ships began to emerge. Not just one or two, but dozens of them. They were beautiful in a strange way. Their hulls gleamed like polished silver, with patterns of light running across their surface like rivers of stars. 50 ships, sir," Tom reported, his voice shaking slightly. "All of them bigger than us." Miller straightened his uniform. "Open all communication channels," he ordered. "Let's try to be friendly." The communication officer, Rob, nodded and pressed several buttons. "Channels open, sir." Miller cleared his throat. "This is Captain James Miller of the human survey ship Pioneer. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations." For a long moment, there was nothing but static. Then, a sound filled the bridge. A sound that made everyone's skin crawl. It was laughter, but not human laughter. It sounded like breaking glass mixed with wind chimes. A figure appeared on their main screen. It looked almost human, but its skin was pure white, and its eyes were too large, too bright. When it spoke, its words were perfect English, but its mouth moved wrong. "How amusing," the alien said. "To think that such primitive creatures have managed to drag themselves into space. Your vessel is." It paused, making that terrible laughing sound again. "Charming. Like watching a child play with toys." Miller felt his face grow hot, but kept his voice steady. "We may not be as advanced as you, but we are peaceful explorers. We seek only to learn and grow." Learn and grow. The alien's face twisted into what might have been a smile. "Let us show you what real space technology looks like." One of the alien ships moved forward. A beam of light shot from it, passing just in front of the Pioneer's bow. The entire ship shook. "That was merely a fraction of our power," the alien said. "We are the collective. We have watched your species fumble through space, polluting it with your primitive radio waves and crude engines. It is time for a cleansing." The bridge crew looked at each other. They all knew what that meant. "Please," Miller tried again. "We have done nothing to harm you. We have families, colonies." The alien's laughter cut him off. "You mean those struggling outposts on dead worlds?" "Yes, we know about them. They will be dealt with after we finish here. Your species is unworthy of the stars." Miller's hands gripped the arms of his captain's chair. Through the view screen, he could see more alien ships moving into position, surrounding them in a complex formation that spoke of advanced tactical knowledge. "Engineering," he said quietly into his comm. "What are we dealing with?" The chief engineer's voice came back, tight with tension. "Their technology is like nothing I've ever seen, sir. But there's something odd about how they're communicating with each other. Give me a few minutes." "We may not have a few minutes," Miller muttered, watching as the alien ships continued their graceful dance around the Pioneer. The alien leader was still speaking, going on about superiority and cleansing, but Miller was hardly listening anymore. His mind was racing, looking for any advantage, any weakness they could exploit. "Sir," the engineer's voice came back, excitement barely contained. "I think I found something. They're ships. They're all connected somehow. If we could." The alien's voice cut through the comm. "Enough talk. It's time to demonstrate what happens to primitives who dare to reach beyond their grasp." Miller watched as weapons ports opened on all 50 ships, glowing with energy he couldn't even begin to understand. But deep in his gut, that same instinct that had warned him of danger now whispered something else. Hope. Kate Wilson ran her hands through her messy hair as she stared at the readings on her engineering console. Around her, the Pioneer's engine room hummed with its familiar sound, but something else caught her attention, a strange pattern in the background radiation. "That's impossible," she muttered, adjusting her instruments. "No communication system should work like this." The ship shook as another warning shot from the alien fleet passed nearby. Kate grabbed her console to stay upright. Above her, the captain's voice came through the speakers. "Engineering. We need options. Anything you can give us." Kate pressed her comm button. "Sir, I think I found something interesting. These aliens, they're not using any form of normal communication. They're using quantum entanglement to talk between ships." "In simple terms, Wilson," Miller replied, tension clear in his voice. "They're all connected, sir, like one big brain. Every ship is linked to every other ship instantly. No delay, no signal to intercept. It's way beyond our technology." She paused, then added, "But that might be exactly what we need." On the bridge, Miller leaned forward in his chair. "Explain." "They're so advanced, they've completely abandoned regular radio waves. Probably haven't used them in centuries. But we still do. And sir," she couldn't keep the excitement from her voice, "their quantum network has one big weakness. It can't handle random interference." Another mock shot from the alien fleet rocked the ship. Through the comm, Kate could hear the aliens still taunting the bridge crew. "Your primitive vessel's power cord is barely enough to run a children's toy," the alien leader was saying. "Perhaps we should keep it as a museum piece after we destroy your colonies." Kate's fingers flew across her console. "Captain, remember that old saying about how a computer is only as good as its programming. Their ships are all running on the same network, making the same decisions at the same time. It's their strength, but it could be their weakness too." Miller's voice dropped lower. "What are you suggesting?" "Our emergency beacon, sir. We could modify it. Turn it into something they've never seen before. A simple radio burst, but strong enough to create quantum interference. Their fancy network won't know how to handle it." There was a pause. Then Miller spoke again. "How long?" Kate looked around her engine room, mind already planning the modifications. 20 minutes, maybe 15 if my team helps." "You have 10, Miller said. Then his voice rose to address the aliens. "Great ones, we acknowledge your superior power. Might we have a brief time to prepare ourselves for the honor of our destruction?" The aliens' laughing sound filled the comm system again. "How pathetic." "Very well, small creatures. Take your time to make peace with your primitive gods. It will make your ending more entertaining." Kate was already moving, calling her engineering team together. "Get me every power cell we have," she ordered. "And the backup cells, too. Strip the emergency beacon down to its core." Her team worked frantically, rerouting power systems and modifying the beacon's transmission array. Every few minutes, the ship would shake as the aliens fired another mocking shot. "Look at them scramble," the alien voice echoed through the ship, "like insects before the storm." But Kate wasn't listening anymore. She was focused on the task, her hand steady as she connected the final wires. The modified beacon was ugly, a maze of exposed wiring and jury-rigged power cells. But it was ready. "Captain," she called through the comm, "it's done. But sir, this is a one-shot thing. We'll burn out every power cell we have. If it doesn't work." "It has to work," Miller replied simply. Then he raised his voice again. "Great ones, we are ready to receive your gift of destruction." The aliens' laughter came one more time. Such brave words from such simple creatures. "Very well. Take formation, brothers. Let us show these primitives what real power looks like." In engineering, Kate placed her hand on the modified beacon's activation switch. As she waited for the captain's signal, she smiled slightly. Sometimes, being primitive had its advantages. The next 10 minutes on the Pioneer were the longest anyone had ever experienced. Every crew member knew their lives depended on what happened next. In engineering, Kate and her team made the final adjustments to their makeshift weapon while trying to ignore the aliens' constant mocking. "Your time grows short, little humans," the alien leader's voice echoed through the ship. "Perhaps you would like to see how a real spaceship's engines work before you die." One of the massive alien vessels moved closer, its hull gleaming with patterns of light that seemed to flow like water. The alien continued, "Notice how smoothly our ships move. No crude rocket thrust like your primitive vessel." Tom at the sensor station watched the alien ship's movement carefully. "Captain," he whispered, "they're actually showing off. They're dropping their guard." Miller nodded slightly, keeping his face neutral. He pressed his comm button. "Engineering, status." "Almost there, sir," Kate replied, her voice tense. She was elbow-deep in the modified beacon's wiring. "But we found a problem. The power surge is going to be massive. It might fry our own systems, too. Can we shield anything?" Kate wiped sweat from her forehead, leaving a smudge of grease. "Main life support and engines, maybe. Everything else." She didn't need to finish the sentence. The captain looked around his bridge, at the faces of his crew. They all nodded. They understood the risk. "Shield what you can," Miller ordered. "Leave the rest to chance." Another alien ship moved closer, its weapons ports glowing with strange energy. "Look at them scramble," a different alien voice said. "They remind me of the last primitive species we cleansed. Remember how they begged at the end?" The aliens' laughter filled the comm system again, but this time it was multiple voices, creating a horrible chorus of breaking glass and chimes. In engineering, Kate's team worked faster. They pulled protection panels from non-essential areas, using them to create makeshift shields around the vital systems. Every spare power cell on the ship was now connected to their modified beacon, creating a tangled web of cables across the engine room floor. "Ready for final power test," Kate reported. She looked at the jury-rigged system and added quietly, "I hope." Miller's voice came back, steady and calm. "Do it." Kate pressed several buttons, and the beacon hummed to life. Power readings spiked, then stabilized. Around it, other systems flickered briefly. "It's working," she reported, relief in her voice. "But sir, we'll only get one shot. After that, most of our systems will be fried." "What about weapons?" Miller asked. "Basic weapons should still work. I shielded them as much as I could. But targeting computers will be gone. We'll be shooting blind." Up on the bridge, Miller watched as more alien ships moved into position around them. They were creating some kind of pattern, probably preparing for what they thought would be an easy kill. "Sometimes the old ways are best," Miller said. "We still have manual targeting, right?" "Yes, sir," the weapons officer replied. "Just like in training." The alien leader's voice cut in again. "We grow tired of waiting, humans. Your time is up. Would you like to see something truly impressive before you die?" All 50 alien ships began to move in perfect synchronization, their hulls lighting up with complex patterns. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Engineering," Miller said quietly. "Everything ready." Kate looked at her modified beacon one last time. It wasn't pretty, but it was their only hope. "Ready, sir. On your command." Miller straightened in his chair. When he spoke to the aliens, his voice was calm. "Actually, we would like to show you something first. Something primitive." The aliens laughed again. "And what could primitives possibly show us?" Miller smiled slightly. "The danger of underestimating your enemy." He pressed his comm button one last time. "Engineering. Now." Kate's fingers trembled slightly as she pressed the activation sequence on her modified beacon. For a split second, nothing happened. Then the engine room erupted in blinding light as every power cell on the ship poured its energy into the device. "Energy spike at maximum." She shouted into the comm. "Releasing pulse now." The Pioneer shuddered as if it was being torn apart. Lights flickered, screens went dark, and warning alarms screamed throughout the ship. Then, silence. Complete silence. Up on the bridge, Miller watched through the main viewport as their invisible weapons spread outward. They couldn't see the radio waves themselves, but they could see their effect. The beautiful patterns of light flowing across the alien ships began to stutter and jump. What is this interference? The alien leader's voice had lost its mocking tone. Some kind of primitive energy pulse. The perfect formation of alien ships wavered. Some of their engines flickered, while others began to drift slightly out of position. The synchronized light patterns across their hulls became chaotic. Their quantum network is breaking down, Tom reported from his partially working sensor station. They're losing their connection to each other. The alien leader's voice came back, but now it was filled with confusion. Brothers, the network, something is disrupting our link. How can these primitives? His voice cut off as ship after ship lost its connection to the network. The aliens had never experienced anything like this. Their quantum communication system, the pride of their civilization, was being scrambled by crude radio waves. Direct hit to their technology. Kate's voice came through the comm, excited despite the sparks flying around her in engineering. Their quantum field can't handle the interference. It's like trying to have a quiet conversation in the middle of a rock concert. Miller didn't waste time celebrating. Weapons, target the nearest ship. Manual targeting only. But sir, the weapons officer said, without the targeting computer. The old ways, Miller reminded him, just like we trained. They're not expecting it. Fire when ready. The weapons officer nodded, squinting through his manual scope. He adjusted the controls by hand, something the aliens would never think to do. Their weapons were all automated, all connected to their now failing network. The Pioneer's first shot wasn't pretty. It wasn't guided by advanced computers or quantum calculations. But it was effective. The missile struck the nearest alien ship's engine section, sending it spinning out of formation. Impossible. The alien leader's voice was back, but broken and static-filled. Our shields, they should have. How did you? Their shields are automated too, Kate reported. They run on the same network we just scrambled. Right now, they're about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. More alien ships began to drift out of formation. Some of their weapons ports were glowing, charging up, but without the network to coordinate them, they were firing randomly into space. They've never fought without their network, Tom realized, watching his readings. They don't know how. Through the chaos of failed communications and random energy bursts, the alien leader's voice came through one more time. But now, the arrogance was gone, replaced by something else. Fear. This is impossible. We are superior. Our technology is perfect. You cannot. A burst of wild energy from one of his own ships cut off his transmission. In the chaos, the aliens were starting to hit each other. Miller watched as the mighty alien fleet, so perfectly coordinated just minutes ago, fell into disarray. Ships that had never operated independently were now flying blind, their crews unable to cope with the loss of their precious network. Hold together, people, he called out to his crew. We're not done yet. Engineering, what systems do we have left? Kate's voice came back, surrounded by the sound of repairs being made. Basic engines, life support, and manual weapons, sir. Everything else is fried. But, she paused, and Miller could hear the smile in her voice. I don't think we'll be needing anything else. Miller nodded, watching as another alien ship spun out of control. No, he agreed. I don't think we will. The space around the Pioneer had turned into a light show of misfired weapons and colliding ships. The mighty alien fleet, which had appeared so threatening just minutes ago, was now in complete chaos. Their perfect formation had dissolved into a dangerous mess of drifting vessels. Sir, Tom called from his sensor station. I'm picking up some strange readings from their ships. Their power cores are becoming unstable. Through the viewport, they could see the flowing patterns on the alien ship's hulls had turned from smooth rivers of light into jagged, pulsing shapes. Some ships were completely dark, while others blazed with uncontrolled energy. Their whole system is connected to that network, Kate explained through the comm. She was still in engineering, trying to get more ship systems back online. Without it, they're losing control of everything: weapons, engines, even their power regulation. Miller watched as two alien ships collided, their beautiful hulls crumpling like paper. They've never planned for this, he realized. They'd never even thought about what would happen if their network failed. More alien ships were firing randomly now, their weapons discharging without aim or purpose. Some shots hit their own fleet, while others vanished harmlessly into space. The aliens' superior technology had become their biggest weakness. Incoming transmission. Rob reported from communications. Multiple channels. They're all talking at once. The bridge speakers came alive with a jumble of alien voices, all speaking over each other in panic. Power core failing. Cannot stabilize. Where are the others? Need coordination. Help us. The mighty collective, which had mocked humanity's primitive technology, was falling apart without their precious network. Ships that had never operated independently were now helpless, their crews unable to manage their advanced systems alone. They're like a computer without an operating system, Kate said. All that power, but no way to control it properly. Miller saw an opportunity. Weapons, target their command ship. They might still be trying to restore their network. We can't let that happen. The weapons officer nodded, adjusting his manual sights again. The Pioneers' primitive weapons might lack the aliens' power, but right now, they were more reliable. He fired 3 shots in quick succession. 2 missed, but the third struck home. The alien command ship's beautiful hull cracked, dark lines spreading across its surface like breaking ice. Its patterns of light flickered and died. Direct hit, Tom shouted. Their command ship is losing power. More alien ships were going dark now, their crews apparently shutting down systems to prevent complete failure. Others were trying to flee, but without their network, they couldn't coordinate their movements. Several more collisions lit up the space around them. Engineering. Miller called. What's our status? Basic systems holding, sir, Kate replied. We've got engines, life support, and weapons. No fancy stuff. But we're staying alive. That's more than I can say for them. She was right. The alien fleet was in full retreat, but it wasn't an organized withdrawal. It was every ship for itself, trying to escape the chaos they'd never trained for. Their power cores are going critical, Tom reported, watching his sensor readings. The ones that are still active. They can't regulate their energy flow without the network. They need to shut down soon, or he didn't need to finish. They all watched as one of the alien ships suddenly blazed with light, its hull splitting apart as its uncontrolled power core overloaded. The explosion took out 2 nearby ships. Keep us at a safe distance, Miller ordered, but stay close enough to fire if needed. We need to make sure they don't recover. The Pioneers' crew worked their stations, using manual controls and basic systems to maneuver through the debris field that had once been a mighty alien fleet. Their primitive ship, running on simple technology they could control without computers, was now the most powerful vessel in the area. Kate's voice came through the comm again, tired but proud. Sometimes simple is better, sir. Fancy isn't always good. Miller nodded, watching another alien ship go dark. No, he agreed. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The battle had been raging for 20 minutes, but it felt like hours. The Pioneer moved carefully through the field of disabled and destroyed alien ships, its basic engines humming steadily while advanced alien vessels drifted helplessly around it. Damage report from all sections, Miller ordered, watching as another alien ship's power core went dark. Reports came in from around the ship. Life support stable. Engines functioning. Weapons operational. The Pioneer wasn't pretty. Most of its advanced systems were fried, and emergency lights cast a dim glow through its corridors. But it was still fighting. Kate's voice came through the comm from engineering. "Sir, I've been studying their ship's power signatures. The ones that are still active are trying to reboot their network. They're failing, but they keep trying." "Can they succeed?" Miller asked, concerned. "No, sir," Kate replied confidently. "Our radio interference changed the quantum state of their network. Even if they could reconnect, it wouldn't be the same. Like trying to put together a broken mirror, you can stick the pieces together, but the cracks will always be there." Tom spoke up from his sensor station. "Sir, 12 alien ships still have power. The rest are either destroyed or disabled. The active ones are trying to form some kind of new formation." Through the viewport, they could see the remaining alien ships struggling to coordinate. Without their network, they had to rely on visual signals and basic radio communications, things they had abandoned centuries ago. "They're trying to fight like we do," the weapons officer realized. "But they don't know how." Miller nodded. "And that's our advantage. Target the nearest active ship. Let's show them how humans have fought for centuries." The weapons officer used his manual targeting scope, adjusting for distance and movement the old-fashioned way. The shot wasn't as precise as computer-guided weapons, but it was effective. The alien ship's hull cracked, its beautiful patterns of light dying section by section. "Their shields are still down," Tom reported. "They can't get them back online without the network. They're completely exposed." The remaining alien ships tried to fight back. Their weapons were still powerful, but without computer guidance or coordination, most shots went wide. The Pioneer, although damaged, could still dodge and maneuver using its simple but reliable systems. "It's like they never learned to walk without crutches," Kate commented through the comm. "They relied so much on their network that they forgot how to do things the basic way." Miller watched as another alien ship's shot missed them completely. All that power, all that advanced technology, but they can't use any of it properly. "Weapons, target their engines. Let's finish this." The Pioneer moved methodically through the chaos, picking off one alien ship after another. Some tried to flee, their crews finally realizing that superior technology meant nothing without the skill to use it. Others fought to the end, their mighty weapons now little more than bright lights in space. "Sir," Tom called out, "I'm picking up something from the disabled ships. Their crews, they're abandoning ship. Escape pods launching." Through the viewport, they could see small craft ejecting from the dark hulls of the defeated alien vessels. The mighty collective was running away from the primitive humans they had mocked just an hour ago. "Let them go," Miller ordered. "They'll carry the message back to their people." Kate's voice came through again. "Sir, only 3 alien ships still have power, and their cores are becoming unstable. They need to shut down soon, or they'll explode." The remaining alien ships seemed to realize this too. One by one, their beautiful hulls went dark as their crews shut down everything to prevent their power cores from overloading. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the last alien ship powered down. The mighty fleet that had threatened to destroy humanity was now nothing more than floating debris, and in the middle of it all, the primitive Pioneer still stood, damaged but undefeated. "Send a message to Earth," Miller ordered. Tell them humanity just taught the galaxy a lesson about underestimating us." The battle was over, but the Pioneer's crew couldn't quite believe what they had achieved. Around their ship floated the remains of the most advanced fleet humanity had ever encountered, now nothing more than expensive space debris. "Status report," Miller called out, still watching the disabled alien ships through the viewport. 50 alien ships accounted for, Tom reported from his sensor station. 28 completely destroyed, 19 powered down, and 3 split apart from core overload. The rest are floating without power. Kate's voice came through from engineering, tired but proud. "We've got basic systems running, sir. No fancy technology, but we're space-worthy. Just like an old sailing ship, As long as we have a hull and an engine, we can move. Miller nodded, then turned to communications. Rob, are we picking up any signals from the escape pods? Yes, sir. They're using basic radio now, just like us. Rob couldn't hide his smile. Guess they learned something today. Miller straightened in his chair. Put me on broadcast. Let's give them one final message. Rob worked his console. Channel opened. Sir, they'll all hear you. Miller cleared his throat. This is Captain James Miller of the Human Survey Ship Pioneer. To all surviving members of the collective fleet, you came here believing that advanced technology made you superior. You thought our primitive ways made us weak. He paused, looking at the destruction around them. But you forgot something important. Humanity didn't start with quantum networks and AI systems. We started with fire and stone tools. Each step of our technology we earned. We learned to walk before we tried to run. Through the comm system, they could hear the aliens listening. No more laughter, no more mockery. Your mistake wasn't having advanced technology, Miller continued. Your mistake was forgetting how to function without it. Every human ship still carries manual controls, backup systems, and crew members who know how to use them. We never forgot our roots. Kate's voice cut in on a private channel. Sir, we're picking up signals from Earth. They received our message about the battle. They're calling us heroes. Miller smiled slightly, then returned to his broadcast. Remember this day. Remember how one primitive ship destroyed your mighty fleet. Not because we were stronger or more advanced, but because we remembered what you forgot. Technology should serve its users, not the other way around. He looked at his crew, each of them working their stations with determination despite their damaged systems. We're letting you go. Return to your people. Tell them what happened here. Tell them about the humans who brought down your fleet using technology you thought was obsolete. Tell them that humanity is ready for any challenge, not because of our technology, but because of our spirit. The escape pods were moving away now, their engines leaving small trails of light in the darkness of space. The mighty collective had been humbled by the very primitives they had come to destroy. One last thing, Miller added. If you ever think about attacking human worlds again, remember this. We beat you with our oldest, simplest technology. Imagine what we could do with our best. He signaled Rob to cut the transmission. The bridge was quiet for a moment, then erupted in cheers and congratulations. They had done the impossible, beaten an advanced alien fleet with basic technology and human ingenuity. Plot a course for Earth, Miller ordered once the celebration died down. And send a message ahead. Tell them to prep our repair docks. But tell them not to upgrade too many systems. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The Pioneer turned slowly, its simple engines pushing it toward home. Behind it, the remains of the alien fleet drifted in space, a monument to the danger of underestimating humanity. And somewhere out there, the survivors of the collective were learning a lesson they would never forget. Never mistake simplicity for weakness, and never laugh at humans. They might just have the last laugh.